the Public Safety Committee meeting for April 3 to order. Roll call, please.
You ready for roll call?
I am.
All right.
You are.
I am, thank you. Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Cross,
Excused.
Commissioner Dearzinski,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Jagger,
Excused.
Commissioner Longmire,
Present.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Here.
Commissioner Plummer,
Here.
Commissioner Smolnik,
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here. The third item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of March 6th. So moved. Second. Are there any comments, suggestions, or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those in favor say no, or opposed say no. The motion passes. Now is the time set aside for public comment on an agenda item. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment on an agenda item? Why don't you come forward and give us your name at the microphone if you would, please.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Reed. I am concerned with CPS 20. I don't see any need for any money from the Homeland Security Department, and I definitely don't believe that 25% match on that from the county would be of any value at all. So I think that that would be pretty useless expenditure unless there's something I'm missing about the value of Homeland Security money. That seems excessive as a demand to me. The other concerns that I have is that I'd like, one, that there isn't a paper agenda to look at this afternoon. That would be very helpful. But the financial burden of a 25% match on the Homeland Security money, and if it's $305,000, I'm not sure that what I read at home, and because there isn't a paper available now, that 25% of that even is the number that's on this paperwork. That the math doesn't look right. And I'm also not confident about our sheriff's abilities at this time to perform. And I believe that the prosecuting attorney's office has made assertions as well. And I really don't feel that we should do much as far as a county in adding additional funding in that direction until there has been an investigation from an outside agency of our prosecuting attorney's office, our sheriff's department, as well as our police department, because I believe there's a need for outside scrutiny specifically. And that's the biggest items that I have today. Are I really, as a citizen, I don't feel that we should entrust any more money until you start to see the underpinnings of things, like on the bids that were made. The lowest bid for the system on the cars wasn't accepted. It's a higher bid that's being asked for than what the lowest bid was. And people really weren't allowed, the needs weren't assessed well before the bid process began. And I think that those are important things, because when it all comes down to it, some of these are taxpayer dollars that go with what's being asked for, not just the money that floats about, but the money is solid monies that are being asked for from this board. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go now to items for consideration. The first item is CPS 12/04-18 for the Sheriff's Office. Is there any discussion? Does anyone wish to have the representative from the Sheriff's Office comment?
I think we should share just citizens.
Dean Rosser, County Sheriff. In regards to the in-car camera system, clearly we didn't go the low bid. The low bid didn't even come close to meeting the specs that we had published for the system requirements. The bid that, or the vendor that we're requesting to go with, during the demonstrations and the conversations we had with them, provided the best, most complete package in terms of what we were looking for in a video system for the cruisers. So I don't know if you have specific questions as to.
If I could just ask, the specifications that you put out for bid, the low bidders did not meet those specifications?
No. The only way they could come up to the specifications was a number of what they designated as add-ons and additions, and then of course that took them out of the lowest bid spectrum by having to review and deal with all these additional add-ons.
And none of the cars have cameras in them now?
No, we do not have any systems in the cars.
Having served on the North Shore City Council, when they put cameras in the cars, I remember in one instance where it was a domestic complaint, and there were all kinds of allegations by the individuals involved in the complaint, claiming the officer had done all kinds of things and not realizing that they had the whole thing on camera, and once they looked at the video, it was a complete lie. Plus the microphones work, I see in this case, as far as 2 miles away.
Yeah, there's the benefit to this, well, there's a number of benefits, and I have my IT person here to talk technical language, but of course the range of the microphones and the fact that they're wireless, so we're not dealing with broken wires in the early pieces of equipment. The wires were so thin that they would often break during a scuffle or an incident or whatnot, but the fact that it's a 2 mile range, I mean, that's a pretty good range for a microphone to pick up. And the nice part about this microphone is it actually is never off. Even if it's in the power down mode, it still has a feature that is capturing voice data, not necessarily video data if the camera's not synced and operating, but at least the voice data is being captured in an off type mode, which is really a benefit. Risk, this whole thing is a risk management benefit for the county. There's a number of reasons I want, and I've been asking for video systems, I think, since I became undersheriff, because I've had experience with them as an officer also in the city of Muskegon when I was there. It's a learning tool, it's a risk management benefit, it is a officer safety, an investigative benefit, and the list goes on. And I think there's also an expectation on the part of the public that we do have them because of the nature of technology today. And we've actually had a number of instances where the prosecutor or defense attorney or somebody's asked for the in-car cameras, not to mention the media aspect of everything, but when they find out that we don't have the footage from the cameras, we don't have the cameras, it's kind of like, man, you guys are kind of in the dark ages, I guess. I can tell you what the review process was if you're interested. We looked at all the bids, and we looked at where the specs were met, and we did not invite the lowest bid vendor to come and demonstrate because, again, they weren't, according to their bid, they didn't meet the specs. And then one vendor came in extremely high, way outside of what I had budgeted for. And I didn't think that was reasonable to ask for a $20,000 increase, $20,000 plus increase in what I budgeted for. So we basically took the there were six vendors. We took the 4 remaining And we set up a 2-hour window for each vendor to come and demonstrate their equipment. I was there, Heath was there, Mark Seigel, my IT person, my patrol commander, one of the patrol supervisors. It seems like I'm missing some, maybe the detective commander. Dan was there for a little bit in between. But anyway, we set aside a 2-hour window for each vendor to come demonstrate their product. Had a series of questions that we needed answered. They provided some additional information. And after the demonstrations were all done, we sat down as a collective group and discussed the pros and cons of each system and what we felt our needs were for now and to build upon in the future, and which system would best mesh with the infrastructure upgrades that, the county-wide technology upgrades that we're going through currently, and where we could benefit from that with which system. So it was a pretty extensive review. It wasn't just something that the proposals came in, I looked at them and said, let's go with this one. And we sat down, we took our time, and it was a good discussion.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any other? Mr. Plummer?
I think they're needed, also, but I just wish these companies that keep bidding stuff that we wouldn't even accept them unless they can meet the specs. Because all it does is throw, everybody says, go with this, go with that. They shouldn't even be allowed to bid if they can't meet the specs. It just, to me, it clouds the whole issue. So, it's just my point on it. Thanks.
Mr. Darazinski?
Sheriff, I'm really glad you're doing this. I think it's about time we did it. And I anticipate that this, we're changing vehicles. The Fords are kind of out and what's going to be replacing it, and they're compatible with...
Right, yeah, all the mounting capability and install capability is consistent. Even though we're changing models of vehicles, we're sticking with Ford products for our incoming fleet. And so there's some benefit to that, but we could move this thing from a Ford to a Chevy with very little effort, and that was one of the things we looked at, is how compact and how portable would the system be. So.
Can I just ask one? I'm just curious. It doesn't make any. What are they recording to? Is there a hard drive in that, or is it a disc?
It is a 60 gig hard drive. Why don't you come on up here, Mark? Yes, it records to a hard drive, and then there's download points. One here at the jail, the county building, jail portion, and one out at our Oak Street office, that when the cruisers are parked or come in to do reports or report for court or whatever, the download starts and it takes it off the system and sends it to the cloud server and stores it. But I'll let him get into all the technical.
Mark Slagle, Musk County Sheriff's Department Assistant Administrator. To answer your question, it records to an 80 gig vehicle grade hard drive, which is tested and true for one of the best hard drives available for a vehicle and the wear and tear that would take. As the sheriff indicated, it does offload we're actually going to have two different points where they can offload for the sheriff's department. We're looking at expanding that capability. The system has the ability to expand the capability for wireless offload, and it does integrate with the virtual server environment that the county has moved to.
But it does it wirelessly.
Yes, it wirelessly offloads the audio and video from the cars up to the server. So the officer, some of the systems, the officer would have to take a hard drive out and bring it inside and plug it in. With this system, they would pull up outside the jail, pull up outside where they Oak Street, where they go from the shift change and various other things, and it will automatically connect. If they get called out, it'll disconnect, wirelessly, and when they come back, it'll pick it up. Even if they come back to this location and they start at the other location, it'll just continue offloading the video.
And I'll add, in the event that a wireless point goes down or our wireless capability goes down for some reason, there is a hard USB plug that we plug in, download everything to the USB, and then we have it that way, so that is not lost.
Anything else? Thank you, Sheriff. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. The next item is CPS 12/04-19 from the Sheriff's Office. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have one question, John. I'm just, Sheriff, are you planning on spending any time on Nolan Lake this year?
The Musk County Sheriff, yeah, that is one of our grant requirements. You know, we do put in the grant that we patrol the 3 lakes that adjoin Lake Michigan or connect to Lake Michigan, as well as the various inland lakes. But we will be on Lona Lake. As I understand it, however, though, Northern Shore City Police are putting their boat back in the water this summer. And so what...
Were you on the lake last year? I don't remember seeing the boat there.
Yeah, we were, yeah. You know, we've had to reduce patrol hours because of the reduction in the DNR grant funding, but we've been on all the lakes that we're targeted to be on, just maybe not as extensively as we have in the past. But because, I'm just getting back, because Norton is looking at implementing their police patrol boat, you know, we'll have to kind of coordinate hours with them. There's really no sense in both of us to be on Mona Lake when we could be elsewhere while they're on Mona Lake.
Are you thinking of issuing a standard invitation for coffee? No. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. The next item is CPS 12/04-20 from the Sheriff's Office. We have a new person. Did you get that? I did not been repeating who made the motion. Engel and seconded by Plummer. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Lundmeyer.
Sheriff, what, do we have anything of this sort right now, these CBRNE type? I mean, do we do anything now to protect our court rather than depend on Homeland
Well,
Security?
no, we don't, Dean Rosser County Sheriff, we don't have anything as far as a water-based platform. Certainly we have a multitude of land-based CBRN response. Our hazmat team is a regional asset for that type of response. In talking about this particular need, we've actually been in conversation with Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard, who have encouraged us to apply for this grant because of some, I don't really want to say weaknesses, but some needs for Muskegon County and Muskegon County Courts. One of the big ones is, first of all, our big boat for the Sheriff Patrol has seen better days, and I'm going to have to come to you at some point and talk about replacing that particular craft, which this grant may very well enable us to do. This particular platform would be equipped for putting divers in the water for recovery and body or evidence recovery or diving needs. One of the big assets that would come with is a deck gun for fighting fires, a nozzle, high pressure nozzle that a pump that would pump directly from the water, obviously. And currently, there's only, what do you say, 2?
There's 2, but North Muskegon's now.
Yeah, two fire departments in the county that have watercraft, and those guns are very, very small. And like you said, North Muskegon's is not operational right now. So with the number of marinas and the number of amount of activity we have, particularly on Muskegon Lake, potential is great for a firefighting need. And even if we're not out on patrol, this boat would be made available at the dock site for the local fire service to jump on and take to that type of response. What am I missing? I'm gonna turn this over to Under Sheriff, because he's kind of heading up this project, and I'm probably missing out on a lot of things, so, yeah, the radio upgrade.
One other question I have is the underwater robot deal. As opposed to a human diving down, so now a robot this question is kind of twofold.
Yeah, well, that's good point. The underwater robot is both a recovery tool and an investigative tool. If we have a large vessel that comes into port that is, suggesting they have some type of issue on and I don't know my boat, so correct me, on the hull or below the waterline of their boat, we could put the robot down and have them look at their hull, look at the video footage that the robot is taking, and they can try and determine whether they got problems. And I'm not saying, it's a very rare occurrence, obviously, but the idea behind putting a robot down is it saves on the human stress and human task of putting a diver in the water, having them spend, air and time underwater searching, as opposed to we deploy a robot, send that out to search for what we're looking for, get a marking on the spot. If, say we're searching for a body, the worst case scenario, we're searching for a body, we find a body with a robot, we zero in on it, now we know exactly where we have to put the diver in. We're not spending any time swimming around back and forth and exhausting the air and exhausting and burning out the divers. So
at this point, and I don't wish any bad luck, but if someone was to drown and they miss you, Coast Guard responds, right?
Coast Guard responds only for rescue. Their primary function on the coastline is rescue. Once it turns into a recovery effort, they're pretty much hands off. I would also point out that because it's a Homeland Security grant, it would be considered a regional asset. So we would be able to deploy that robot to Oceana, Nuevo, Mason, wherever we have to go.
With the camera robot?
What's that?
Muskegon County, the only county with the robot this side of the state?
No. Iowa has one, and Kent actually has one, even though they don't have any Lake Michigan responsibility. They call it Kermit the Frog.
One.
And also,
Are you done?
Thank you.
Mr. Jarosinski?
I gotta think that robot, having dove a lot myself, is 150 times more sensitive than the human eye and feel. I mean, in the darkness and the murkiness of some of these waters, I mean, your sight is.
Yeah, and then as a diver, I've dove for a lot of years, but the benefit, again, we're talking about the benefit of technology, just like we were with the video cameras in the last conversation and whatnot, but using technology to our benefit saves, again, on the human resources and the human stress, and it gives us a whole lot better, because everything's videotaped, and so if there is an evidentiary issue or a legal issue that comes up, we have that video now that we can rely on that's being captured by the robot. So there's a lot of advantages to it.
Mr. Skolnick?
Yeah, are we getting a side scan, like, is it radar, sonar?
Sonar.
Okay, so that would help you find a body if necessary, or sunken object of some sort. Also, it says it's coming with a winch. Now, I assume you meant a winch.
Interestingly enough, this is the second winch.
This is the second winch in the sheriff's
Second
department.
winch in the sheriff's department.
If it was a pirate ship, it might be a winch, but because it's a sheriff's boat, it'll be a winch.
Sorry, Sheriff.
Yes.
We had a winch last year.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And the winch, really, the purpose behind the winch, number one, it'll store a whole lot more cable to be able to feed out. And I don't know if you ever had experience of trying to manually guide or maintain a sonar unit at a set level during a search. But human nature is you're bouncing, you lose your grip, it goes up and down. It's a very unstable method of feeding the cable for a sonar.
Anything further?
You can tell them about the radios other than the winches.
We're also going to get, or we're proposing to get radios with this. Our dive team currently does not have radios. And then to equip the boat with the radios now, we'll have the same capabilities as the patrol cars will that are out in our county. So we'll make it, of course, interoperable communications is always a big problem, no matter where you work. And this would really, really enhance our communication abilities.
Mr. Longmire?
Underwater radios.
They have current down there, but I mean, where the divers will have a mobile, what they call a mobile in the boat, and then the divers will have radios where they can communicate. So in other words, when they're coming to the scene, they can tell them exactly where to go and what equipment they need to bring. And so it's another enhancement that we would have for our dive team, which we do not have now.
Yeah, just keep in mind, our divers are all volunteer, civilian people. The head of the dive team is a full-time deputy. He coordinates all the marine-related stuff, including the divers. But all our divers are non-paid volunteer civilians, and so to help coordinate them getting to the right location and what equipment needs to be brought, and communicate with them in a better, more organized manner, we're proposing that we equip them with radios.
Mr. Derazinski?
Do we have capability of portable air for our tanks?
We do. Yep.
Carry that on a boat? Or?
We don't have that yet as part of our inventory, but several local area fire services, Montague, up north of the city, of course, here centrally, Norton, they have cascade systems, and they have the adapter and the necessary filtering mechanism to fill scuba tanks as opposed to firefighting air packs, because there's a difference in the grade of air that has to be used. And I'm not an expert in that area, but we partner with the fire services that have those systems.
Commissioner Longmire has another question.
When do you expect if the grant is approved that you have to split ready to go?
Yeah, it'll be next summer before we're up and because the grant, this is really, well, it's a federal grant, so we can all guess how the federal process goes, but it'll be next summer is what we're hoping for.
We'll point out that a portion of it comes out of the revolving fund in any event. So. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. The next item is CPS 12/04-21 from the Sheriff's Office. Motion by Engel, supported by Plummer. Are there any questions or is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. Thank you very much, Sheriff. Item number 6, old business. Is there any old business? Old business. Next item is new business. Mr. Plummer?
I have to apologize to everybody. I want to introduce to you all our new Community Mental Health Director, Julia Rupp. Stand up. We have somebody to take over the reins of that now, and I think you'll find her very capable.
Thank you.
Anything anybody would like to ask her or anything?
Does she want to tell us anything?
Come up and give us a little background.
Well, I've been here a whole day and 3/4 now. Started yesterday.
So you know it all.
I know it all. I'm ready to go, yeah. I have been working in community mental health for almost 30 years. I spent the last 8 years in southeastern Indiana, very rural. So I feel like I've moved to the big city. I'm really excited about that. Before I was in southeastern Indiana, I was in the Chicago area. And I'm very excited to be here. I've gotten to meet a lot of people. I was just telling the administrator that everyone's been extremely welcoming, and very helpful and ready to hit the ground running.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
This is not new business, but just a reminder of the tour of Northern Machine on Thursday at 1:30.
Any other new business? Seeing none. Public comment on a new topic. Is there anyone that would wish to address? Please come forward, state your name, and
my name is Toby Fraser. Also, it's not exactly a new comment or new business. I just want to comment about the county's plan to lock up more members of our community. I think there was an article in today's paper that's pretty indicative of the idea that I'm talking about. If other folks saw it, about heroin use on the rise in this area, or potential for heroin use being on the rise. In the entire article, the only thing that was talked about was law enforcement options and how we're going to arrest these people and how you should call the cops on them and make sure they get in jail. And there was nothing in there about treating this disease of addiction at all. I think it's pretty clear to most anyone who's looked at this ever before that just locking someone up who has a disease isn't a solution. And it just leaves me feeling really confused and wondering why the county is continuing to push forward this more expensive, less humane option when people have problems going on, instead of talking about rehabilitation, and instead of talking about putting programs into place to keep people out of jail in the first place. It's going to save us money, and it's going to make our community safer much faster than just building a bigger jail and throwing more people inside of it, especially when we can see how this jail is run. How long is it going to be until the new jail is in such a state of disrepair from such poor management? So I'm really curious why there hasn't been any talk of programming instead of a jail.
thank you for your comments. And I would tell you that there is a lot of discussion, there is a lot going on. As a matter of fact, at the recent Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting, the suggestion was made that perhaps someone from the Chronicle, Mr. Gartner or Dave Alexander or someone else could approach that group and get a lot of the diversionary work that is being done, summarize it. And if you're at all familiar with what's going on, you're aware that there are a lot of things besides just jail going on in this community.
They're just not getting the funding that the jail is, which is unfortunate.
Well, certainly not in terms of total dollars, but you're not talking about hard assets. I'm not going to get, I'll be glad to debate it with you immediately afterwards. But I want you to know that there are a lot of things going on, a lot of very important things going on, and I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards about it. Excuse me. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Adjourn.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good comments also.
How you doing, Jan?
I don't know, I can scribble it down.
Keep one and then scribble on.
Yeah, we have one on our fridge, so.
No, go good, but you could write on it. Then I'll just checking it twice. I want to see who's naughty and nice.